Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm and you are watching 10th and final part of What If Naruto Gave Up After Hinata's Death. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Click, 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 clack. The only sound in the Hokage's office was the movement of lacquered shogi pieces across the board. Click. Nice move, Hiruzen said. Fox bowed his head in thanks for the compliment. Do you remember when you and I were on opposing sides of the same mission? The Hokage recalled from his youth. Fox let out a snort. You just wanted to get away from the paperwork, my ass. Hiruzen laughed. Indeed, I might have preferred doing the paperwork to guarding that arrogant prick. Your efforts certainly did make my job a lot harder, Fox confirmed, his tone tinged with smugness. Bah! Exclaimed Hiruzen. You won in the end, with Ivan, the butcher, slain by your hand. Fox nodded, remembering the one time when he completely defeated the professor. However, I've always wondered why you were guarding him in the first place. The Hokage simply shrugged. Ivan was set to be fired, and I needed someone competent to take over as Fox. What better way to put the potential leader of the Anbu department to the test than to pit him against the village's leader? I'm glad I passed muster, Fox remarked wryly. The professor laughed. You were a good kid, really good, but after all those failed attempts, I was beginning to wonder if I would have to finish the job myself when Ivan just died. I never did understand how you did it, it just happened. I admit, by that point, I was grasping at straws, Fox admitted. You stopped everything I threw at him, whether it was poison, a knife, or explosives, and you even discovered the explosive notes in the toilet. I also discovered when you switched the vegetable oil for peanut oil. Clever trick, trying to use his peanut allergy to do him in while leaving the taste testers in the dark. Too bad it didn't work. But, as you mentioned, Fox said languidly. I got him in the end, he said, his smirk visible despite the mask covering his face. Hiruzen twitched his brow almost imperceptibly. So, how did you do it? He inquired, casually. Fox made a V sign with his two fingers. I'm not telling. Oh, come on! Exclaimed the third Hokage. For the past 8 years, he had been attempting to pry this secret from Fox, a secret that the Anbu commander relished in keeping over his head. Hiruzen had spent many nights lying awake, trying to figure out how Fox had accomplished the seemingly impossible. Fox was working alone, attempting to gain access to a target guarded not only by the Hokage, but also by elite Jonin, 4 of them in total. Ivan had been relocated to a safe location. The resident ninja thoroughly inspected all food. The entire servant task force was subjected to extensive background checks, and they all passed. Every hour, the area was swept with a fine tooth comb to ensure that there were no traps. They had the best chakra sensor Konoha had to offer on hand, constantly on the lookout for the slightest flinch of foreign chakra. They had cutting-edge locks, seals, and even those exorbitantly priced security cameras. In short, they had everything going for them. In the end, none of it had made a difference. Ivan had perished. And none of them could figure out how the hell he'd done it. The only reason Kakashi had ever joined the Anbu was to try to pry that secret out of Fox, given that he was one of the 4 Jonin present at the time of the assassination. According to rumors, the only reason Kakashi left the Black Ops was because Fox refused to tell him how he did it, even after the Cyclops showed him his face. Fox reached across and gently patted the Hokage on the arm. There, Hokage-sama, everything is fine. Please tell me. Nope. That's a command. Did you say anything? Sarutobi groaned, completely frustrated, and changed the subject. How do you feel about the newly graduated genin? Fox slightly cocked his head. They have potential, he admits. If they live long enough for it to be discovered, Hiruzen sighed pessimistically. Fox recognized the hidden meaning in his words. Then you do believe Yurei's warning, he said flatly, not as a question. I do, Kami assistus, I do. For a brief moment, silence followed this statement as thoughts darkened. Fox was the first person to break the silence. Of course, you're aware that Naruto has already had some contact with Yurei? Hiruzen gave him a cold stare. For once, his expression was easily discernible. It asked, "What kind of a fool do you think I am?" Fox apologetically held his hands up, shielding himself from the Hokage's gaze. Just stating the obvious, he said flatly. Are you going to do anything about it? Hiruzen shook his head. What do you want me to do? He asked ruefully. I was going to talk to Naruto about it a few days ago, but then we ran through the path of death and things kind of snowballed. It's clear that Yurei has given Naruto some form of training, and I honestly can't blame him. Yurei is still a mystery. We need to learn more about him in order to keep the village safe, Fox reasoned mildly. Hiruzen made his next move slowly and thoughtfully. Tell me, Fox, whether you believe Yurei's warning. Logically, there's nothing but a very slim chance that Orochimaru in a new village could cause significant harm to the leaf. He'd have to be some kind of idiot to attack the strongest shinobi village with such a paltry force, Fox responded. And to attack during the Chunin exams? Breaking that peace agreement would be far more trouble than it's worth. He'd turn every village against him. The Hokage laughed. I didn't ask you to explain the political implications. I asked if you thought war would come to the leaf during the Chunin exams. Do you believe Yurei's warning? Fox paused briefly before exhaling a short sigh. Leaning forward, he moved a piece into position to launch a stronger offensive against his opponent's king. Yes. Log assist me, but I do. The Hokage nodded as he moved to fortify his defenses. Then we will prepare for that event. If we are to trust Yurei on this, then I will trust him on other matters as well. As per his wish, Naruto will receive his mother's blade if he passes the test and becomes a genin. Fox arched his brow. Are you sure that's wise? After all, while the hilt belonged to Kushina, the blade itself was never hers, and the legends surrounding that blade are immaterial, Hiruzen cut in. I had that blade tested by the best of our shinobi, and it never revealed anything that could be classified as supernatural, Hiruzen snorted slightly. For crying out loud, it couldn't even conduct chakra. Well, of course you never found anything, the people you had test it never matched up to the legend's criteria. Fox murmured, almost petulantly in Sarutobi's opinion. Hiruzen sighed and rolled his eyes. You mean how it said only the chosen of the Uzumaki could wield the sword? I saw Kushina with that sword hundreds of times, and it never acted as anything more than a sharpened piece of metal. Technically, Fox shrugged, the legend states that only one of the family can wield the sword, but I see your point. Alright. Shall we begin with the reason we came here in the first place? Hiruzen asked, a slight twinkle in his eye as he prepared to put Fox's king in his place. Are you referring to the new genin team placements? Naturally, Sarutobi replied, smirking slightly, sensing his impending success. Fox moved his king, paused, and then withdrew his hand thoughtfully, watching the third and attempting to decipher his intentions. Naturally, he found nothing. How do you intend to divide the teams? Fox inquired, pausing to consider his next move. Tracing, capture interrogation, and assault teams are the usual specialties. Fox scowled. Do you believe war is on its way to the Leaf, sir? He asked, blocking the oncoming check with a knight. I've already stated that, Fox. Then, excuse my bluntness, but why are you attempting to kill those kids? There was complete silence. Excuse me? The Hokage inquired, his tone dangerous. Fox shook his head. You and I both know that a specialized ninja is a dead ninja, especially in wartime. Just ask any Anbu. Hiruzen slowly nodded. A true ninja is more than just a dark knife. Fox shook his head. A lot more. Sure, keep them in teams under those headings, but by the sage, don't have them all completely specialized. A ninja at peace can afford to be good at one thing. A ninja at war cannot. Your own student said something along those lines to me a few years ago. The Hokage took a sniff. Did he do it now? Fox gave a nod. That he did. However, Jiraiya was stone drunk at the time. What exactly did he say? Well, after he was caught in a Fuinjutsu trap that prevented him from summoning the toads to help him, their leader gave a classic evil overlord speech about how his defeat was now inevitable. The Anbu leader cleared his throat and gave a frighteningly accurate imitation of Jiraiya's voice, even adding a slight drunken slur. No respect, I tell you. First of all, the guy thinks he's got me on a silver platter, and he just won. Shut up. All because I, the toad sage, can't summon any toads? He continued, snorting loudly. Sure, that might work on a regular ninja, but me? I'm a freaking Sanin.
Sure, I mostly use summoning jutsu in a fight, cause I'm a damn good with 'em. Sure, I mostly use summoning jutsu in a fight, cause I'm a damn good with 'em.
Hiruzen inquired, did he say anything else? The Anbu commander shifted uneasily. Sir, yes. Well? After that, he drank another bottle of sake and began talking in great depth and detail about his accomplishments as an author and his latest man prowess. Ah. Before the Hokage spoke again, they each took a few more turns of shogi. You make an excellent point, Fox, but Asuma, Kakashi, and Hibiki are experienced jonin, and I am confident that they will be able to provide them with the necessary grounding. Fox took a breather. Hibiki? Yes? Wasn't Yuhi Kurenai supposed to be one of the jonin sensei for this upcoming class? Yes, she was, but Kurenai has only recently been promoted to jonin, so those more senior to her naturally get first priority, unless you know something I don't. Fox drew a highly official-looking contract from beneath his coat. Hiruzen took it from him, raised his brow, and began reading. Agreement reached by Asuma, Kakashi, Guy, and Kurenai to meet at least twice a week and teach each other's genin teams their respective specialties. As well as Anko, Lord Hokage. Oh? Fox gave a nod. Naruto shanghaied her into teaching poisons and antidotes to him and his teammates. Pity she never specified how many teammates he could have. Hiruzen laughed. Point. It's a good plan, I admit, but I don't see it happening. I don't intend for Kurenai to be a jonin sensei this time, and I'm loath to interfere with their teamwork. Fox remained silent for a moment before exhaling a heavy sigh. I suppose I'll have to do something to persuade you to reconsider. And what will it be? I could always try a bribe, Fox said thoughtfully. I pay your wages, Fox. You don't have enough cash to entice me. There must be something I could give you to make you reconsider. Nope. Fox reluctantly offered the only thing he could think of. I could tell you how I offed Ivan the butcher. Hiruzen paused, his smirk frozen on his face. He would not risk the young lives of those under his command for such a trivial thing, but he really wanted to know how Fox had done it. You tell me how you did it, and you occasionally join the genin team's training to ensure that they are making proper progress. Deal. The Hokage reached over and signed the necessary paperwork, and the job was done. Alright. So, how did you do it? Fox carefully removed the papers from the desk and tucked them back beneath his clothes. But don't expect me to tell you right now, Hokage-sama. After all, the Academy students have yet to achieve the status of true genin. If they do not, our agreement will be rendered null and void. Plus, it wouldn't do for the other Anbu in the area to spread the news, would it? Fox made one more move while the Hokage was gaping like a fish. Checkmate, Hokage-sama. Naruto arrived at the academy a little late, but with a big, goofy grin on his face. His white-striped friends had grown in number since he started feeding them, and Shirobi had grown in size as her babies grew. When he arrived with their daily meaty meal, which now had to be sealed instead of just carried around in a sack, his tigers were all there and waiting. There were 22 of the big animals there now. Reduce your head, Shinigami said gently. Naruto shrugged and did as he was told, nearly jumping out of his skin when something hit him through Shirobi's thick fur. Dust to dust, life from the dead, and so the circle of life goes on, Shinigami said softly. A grin spread across Naruto's face as he placed his ear on Shirobi's stomach and heard the strong beat of the big tiger's heart. Lub-dub, lub-dub, lub-dub. But as he concentrated, sending chakra to his ears and blotting out all other distractions, focusing his entire being on that sound, he realized that this song was not a solo act. Two more heartbeats purred their own rhythm in tandem, fluttering, and Iruka was there to say goodbye, leaving Mizuki to teach the rest of the class for the day. He wrapped his arms around an obliging Naruto, then pulled him into a headlock and began giving him a noogie, figuring he owed it to the blonde after all the trouble he had put him through. He's not serious, is he? I think he is, Kyuubi pondered. I often find myself surprised by the idiocies of human courtship rituals. Making an abject fool of himself is still well within the realms of possibility. We can't all be as clever as foxes, Naruto remarked sarcastically. But it's so easy. Please allow me to explain. Ignoring Naruto's firm statement that, no, he did not require an in-depth summary of a nine-tailed demon's mating habits, thank you very much, or words to that effect, albeit slightly more M-rated, Kyuubi proceeded to administer just that. I'll even break it down into 5 simple steps that your mortal brain can comprehend. I'm not listening, I'm not listening. As the nine-tailed vulpine continued, the demon lord's voice drowned out his protests. Meet at step 1. To complete this step, there may be some chasing involved. Be thankful. At least you didn't have to kidnap the girl you liked to get a chance to, Shinigami muttered petulantly, and Kyuubi ignored him. Sniff at step 2. No better smell in the world than a healthy vixen. After all, the fox may have a point, Gaki. You did say Hinata smelled nice. Step 3. Demonstrate your dominance. I'll leave that to your discretion. That's very nice of you, old sport. If you want my advice, get some whipped cream, this not-so-little thing right here, and a couple of these leather. Sit down. Naruto yelled angrily, leaping at Shinigami. Step 4. The giant fox continued, ignoring the small blonde mortal attempting to gag the god of death with Riska copyright paraphernalia and a. Wait, was that a? Never mind, nothing but madness, humiliation, and shame lay that way. Kyuubi finished his sentence, procreate, trying to block out the sound of high-pitched buzzing. Step 5. Shinigami said, spitting out the object Naruto had shoved down his throat in an attempt to gag him before he choked, which clattered noisily on the floor as he and Kyuubi spoke in unison. Repeat step 4 as necessary. Whoops, Iruka is now speaking. Anime tears of gratitude streamed down Naruto's face, and Iruka, who had grown accustomed to such things, didn't even pause. I'm so proud of you all, Iruka said, sniffing slightly to keep his own tears from falling. I know that probably doesn't mean much coming from an academy teacher, but it's true. Congratulations to everyone. Now, before I leave, please listen to old Iruka one more time. He sighed, his eyes serious. You are about to become shinobi of Konohagakure, soldiers of the Hidden Leaf Village. It's never easy to stay alive in this job, and even if you do, it's a hard life. Always be wary, and never underestimate your adversary. Have faith in your friends and teammates, and never abandon them when they are in need. As a ninja, you may be called to die for your village, but you should never make that your first option. I'm not going to tell you not to die for Konoha. I'm not going to take away your choice. Consider this, however. People die for their village all the time in this world. It's not uncommon. But once you're dead, you're no longer useful to Konoha. Rather, live for your village. After all, it is the people who make up the village, not the buildings or the land. And if we all die for the village, there will be no village left, which defeats the purpose, doesn't it? He smiled briefly, attempting to relieve the tension but failing miserably, and the smile faded. The world is a horrible place, and we are a part of it. Our lives are not glamorous. We are not fairy tale heroes. We are ninja, which means we deal with reality. All too often, we must harden our hearts and blacken our souls in order to complete the mission. But by doing so, we can protect the innocent and, with luck, make the world a better place. Sometimes just knowing you're making a difference is all you need to keep going, and on occasion, that's all you need. Sometimes it isn't. If you ever find that to be the case, look around. Iruka paused and his words became a command. Look around. Blinking, the 9 students in the room did so, seeing the classroom where they had spent so much of their brief lives. What do you notice? Iruka said quietly. The classroom, Sensei, Sakura replied, slightly perplexed. Naruto shook his head. There was so much more, if you just looked in the right place. Iruka's words washed over him, strengthening his conviction and leaving him feeling stronger than when he first entered the room. I'll tell you what I see, Iruka said with a smile. I see friends, companions, fellow Leaf Shinobi, he continued, pointing at each of them. When you feel like it's all too much, look around you. We are fighting for the village. However, the village is not a symbol. It is not some grandiose concept for which we willingly give our lives. It is not for the greater good. One of the rules of ninja passed down from the archaic times is to never have any attachments, Iruka said, pausing to take a deep breath and continuing, making sure to meet the eyes of every one of his students as he tried to give them his final words of wisdom as their sensei. For the time being, disregard that rule. You fight for your friends, and they, in turn, fight for you. Draw strength from it if it becomes too much. You are not by yourself. This is what gives the leaf its strength. Yes, you were young. Some might argue that you are too young. The world is dangerous, but we will not send you out into it alone. Iruka paused once more, allowing what he had said to sink into the minds of the students who were no longer his charge, but people he would always care about. His gaze lingered the longest on Naruto, the warmth of understanding and a look of pride burning deep within his eyes. You know, Iruka was one of Naruto's first role models and someone he looked up to his entire life. I've always been curious why. Sure, he was one of the first to accept him, but that doesn't explain his level of hero worship for him. True, I mean, look at the others he holded in such high regard. Sarutobi, Jiraiya, Kakashi, Tsunade, the fourth, all legendary shinobi, some of the strongest of their time. And while his ambition is to become the strongest Hokage in history, he values the opinion of a relatively unknown Chunin more than almost anyone else. Who is Iruka to demand such loyalty? Shinigami smiled slowly, glad Naruto had such an impact on his life and that he recognized and respected a man like this. After all, he shuddered to think what kind of man Naruto might have become if the only thing he ever respected was strength or power. And what is that? A good man, Shinigami said simply, but Kyuubi understood the magnitude of the statement. With a small bark of laughter, Kyuubi nodded his head in agreement. Iruka finished his speech calmly, unaware of his divine judgment, which is why you have been assigned sensei. They will be your protectors and teachers. They are there to support you, to teach you, and to be a shoulder to cry on if necessary. They will do everything they can to protect you until you can protect them as well. Kurenai entered the room on cue, her sharp red eyes dispassionately observing all of them, tightening slightly at Naruto's waving form. Yuhi Kurenai is the primary sensei of Hyuga Hinata, Inuzuka Kiba, and Aburame Shino. Naruto got a little bit into it. Primary sensei? What was that all about? Kurenai's team stood up to leave with their new sensei, Kiba slightly gloating about having a hot dame for a sensei, but Kurenai remained expressionless and motioned them back to their seats. We're going to wait until the others get here first, he said. Others? A slow smile crept unconsciously across Naruto's face. If he was correct, then things had just improved, and the grin only widened when another well-known figure entered the room in a swirl of leaves. Good morning, everyone. Sarutobi Asuma is my name. Yes, the old man is my father. Let it go. Nara Shikamaru, Akamichi Choji, and Yamanaka Ino all have me as their primary sensei. Cha! Sakura exclaimed, having determined that she would be working with her Sasuke-kun. It'll probably be a while before the others arrive, so Kurenai and I will tell you a little bit about ourselves before we all get started, Asuma said, putting a cigarette in his mouth and flicking open a lighter. Ahem, Asuma said, looking at Iruka, who was staring at him.
Sorry, Asuma-san.
The academy is a no-smoking environment. Ah, Asuma shrugged, I'm sure it'll be fine if we relax that rule for a while, nay? Iruka said nothing, but the glare he now wore was the one he usually reserved for Naruto when he did something out of character or disastrous. Asuma put down his cigarette. Thank you, Asuma-san, Iruka said graciously, lowering her gaze slightly. However, don't worry too much about the others. I'm confident they'll arrive soon. Both John and Sensei raised a single eyebrow, united in their disbelief. What gives you such confidence, Iruka-sensei? Kurenai inquired, genuinely interested. I promised her dango, Iruka shrugged. The door opened with a bang as Kakashi's unconscious form slid across the floor, leaving a long red smear that marked his passage, and Anko walked in with a self-satisfied smirk, hands in her pockets, a moment later. She inquired, innocently. You killed Kakashi-senpai, said Asuma and Iruka, pointing to the blood trail on the ground. Kurenai simply facepalmed, muttering something under her breath that sounded suspiciously like, not again. Don't worry, he's just knocked out, Anko admitted openly. How about all the blood? Sakura insisted. It's coming from his mask, Naruto said distractedly as he searched for gloves to remove that infernal bit of blood-soaked cloth and see his sensei's face. Oh, you mean that? He didn't want to come right away, so he was attacked by a pair of magnificent puppies and passed out from the pleasure of it, Anko replied, waving the incident off. Are you sure you don't mean pain? Inquired Ino, who appeared perplexed. Anko let a slow, predatory grin take over her features. No. No, I believe I meant pleasure. Alright, enough. The man on the ground is Hitaki Kakashi, primary sensei of Haruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke, and Uzumaki Naruto.
Kurenai sighed before stepping forward and slapping Anko upside the head, seizing control of the situation.
Also, this. Hello, my name is Mitarashi Anko, and I'm a kunoichi extraordinaire. Anko interrupted, holding out both arms as if to accept the accolade of 1,000 adoring fans. Behind her, a black banner unfurled from the ceiling, hiding the male sensei behind it. Shuffling so that she faced them side on, she crossed her arms and struck another pose. Naruto applauded loudly, wolf whistling as he did so. Anko frowned before surveying her audience's expressions. Ino and Sakura were horrified, Hinata was thoughtful, and the boys, excluding Naruto, ranged from mild embarrassment, Shino, to outright drooling, Kiba. Damn, I'm sexy, Anko stated matter-of-factly, a small grin on her face, when she turned around and was confronted with a larger-than-life-sized banner of herself striking a rather sexy pose wearing nothing more than some rather risque copyright lingerie. Kurenai muttered darkly under her breath as she walked to the side of the banner and pulled a cord, causing the entire thing to fall to the ground. Anko? What was that? She inquired sweetly. The wrong banner, she replied quickly. I got that one for assassinating a budding warlord with a penchant for painting. I waited until he finished the painting before slitting his throat with a kunai. Where the hell was she keeping a kunai while dressing like that? One of Naruto's tenants inquired. I'm not sure I want to know, Naruto replied. However, enough about me. Oh, but there's more. Poisons, assassination, interrogation, and infiltration are my specialties. I'll be teaching Blondie and his teammates as a result of a bad bet. And there's the catch, Kakashi smoothly interjected. You see, this year the Hokage has decided to try something a little different than usual. Normally, Asuma continued, you would be divided into 3 different teams, each of you with one sensei who would focus on all of your teaching. Kurenai took a step forward to continue, saying, this year, you will be a part of something new. Instead of 3 separate teams, all 9 of you are on the same team. Not only will you all receive specialized training from a larger pool of Jonin, but you will also be able to reliably team up with a larger group of people to perform more difficult missions. Of course, that will only happen if you can prove yourself to be genuine genin, Kakashi smiled. What a pain, Shikamaru grumbled. What exactly do you mean, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura inquired. Simple, Naruto mused aloud, we've been graded by the academy, but the academy teachers aren't the ones who will be taking us out into the field. They must be aware of our capabilities. They must determine whether or not we are compatible. In short, we're not quite genin yet. Not until they say so. Am I correct? Meh, close enough, Kakashi replied with an eye smile, we'll give our primary students one more graduation test. Understand? If you all pass, you'll all be teammates. Oh yes, I think I understand perfectly, Anko said as one arm snaked around Kakashi's neck. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're saying that if these brats all pass their easy little quiz, then I'm stuck teaching all 9 of the twerps for the foreseeable future? One of my eyes twitched dangerously. You are mistaken, Kakashi said after a brief moment of thought. Anko sighed and let go of the Cyclops, saying, they'll have to all pass a hard graduating test, after all, we usually have a 66% fail rate, but if they do, then you'll be stuck teaching all 9 of the twerps for the foreseeable future. He turned to his gaping students, who had turned pale upon hearing the words 66% fail rate. Haruno, Uchiha, Uzumaki, they say. Meet me at 6 a.m. tomorrow. 7. Tomorrow at the training ground. Oh, and I recommend that you not eat anything. You'll only vomit if you do. With those foreboding words, he vanished in a shunshin, just in time to avoid Anko's flying tackle, a kunai in each hand. She slid across the highly waxed floor, Naruto, and straight out the open doorway headfirst. Alright, the rest of you, come up to the roof with Kurenai and I for more information. You should probably hurry before she regains consciousness. The others stood up to leave, nodding in agreement. I'll see you later, Hinata-chan. Naruto called out, waving with a big smile on his face. Bye, Naruto-kun, Hinata said, blushing. Best wishes. Nah, don't need luck, Naruto said, shaking his head. None of us do, the rest of the prospective genin said, smirking. Come on guys, look at us, we're so awesome that Fox passed us 6 months early. We're all just too awesome to fail this insignificant little test. Keep in mind what Iruka said. We are not on our own. And if we all pass, we'll be the biggest official team ever, so we just have to show them the best teamwork they've ever seen, blow them away, and blow this test out of the water. Capisce copyright? Yes, we have it. Besides, failing these things would be far too troublesome anyway, Shikamaru said as he exited the room, followed by the others, but Shino paused to speak. Indeed. Despite my dislike for Nara-typical-sans demeanor, I find myself agreeing with his statement. Why? For it could be argued that another half year at this academically inclined institution would be an unwelcome waste of time, Shino agreed. As he walked out of the room, he turned around and began walking towards the window. By the way, Mitarashi-san appears to be regaining consciousness. As a result, it's possible that you'll take the logical step and use a novel point of egress like myself. With that, he slipped out the window and began walking up the side of the building to the roof. What does he mean, a novel method of escape? Naruto mumbled. He's looking for a new exit, Sakura explained. I understand what he meant, but there's nothing novel about it. Ninja always uses, and appears to prefer, the windows. HNN. Less talking, more fleeing, Iruka said, returning to his perch on the windowsill to look at his former students. Anko rushed back into the empty classroom 30 seconds later, saying, I don't believe them. Are they going to force me to teach all those brats? I'll go insane. She paused. Well, crazier, she grudgingly admitted. She sighed, well, maybe one of the classes will fail, then I won't have to teach as many. Pouting, she slid down the wall to the floor. She appeared to sulk for a while, before a slow smile began to spread across her face. But if Naruto fails, none of them will be his teammates. And if that occurs... Wolf paled dramatically behind the next-door classroom's wall and pressed a button on his radio. Code Orange Beta. Code Orange Beta, again. I'm Roger Wolf. In the works? The operator inquired. Negative. In the works. Are you certain? Instead of responding, Wolf threw the radio out the window, where Anko's laughter could be clearly heard. Is that you, Anko? Affirmative. Shit, affirmative. Omake a fangirl deterrent. I swear to you, Sasuke, it works. Yeah right, Dobi, scoffed Sasuke. You're telling me, of all people, that you've discovered a way to defeat the Harpy demons? Naruto nodded, a broad grin on his face. Look, he said, motioning to the aluminum can in his hand, which looked suspiciously like a deodorant can. All you have to do is point it at the fangirl in question and then press the button on top. Because the can contains compressed wind chakra, it sprays the repellent in a fine, chakra-powered mist. What's in it? Sasuke inquired of the can. He inquired, his face contemptuous. Do you think I'm going to tell you the ingredients and leave it at that? You're attempting to steal my recipe in order to make it for yourself. Fine, don't tell me what's in it, sighed Sasuke. I will tell you this, inside, there is a combination of alcohol and holy water, among many other things, Naruto said self-righteously. Alright, how much? Sasuke asked, raising his eyebrows at Naruto. 800 ryo per bottle, Naruto said with a blinding smile. 8,000 ryo. Did I say 800? I meant 799, Naruto chuckled. Ignore it. I'm not interested. Sasuke growled, slapped the bottle from Naruto's grip, and began walking away. Oi! Sasuke. Turning, the Uchiha was just in time to catch a much smaller bottle, about 1/5 the size. Naruto exclaimed. Whatever, shrugged Sasuke. I warned you. I'm uninterested. Now leave me alone, I'm late for the academy. Turning on his heel, Sasuke stalked off, his nose in the air, seemingly radiating arrogance. Behind his back, Naruto had a pouting expression that quickly changed into an evil smirk. Using the smallest amount of wind chakra, Naruto sent a gentle, yet precise, Kaisuken at Sasuke. You say you're not interested? But you'll be. Kukakuku, a wild Anko appeared. Slap. Bad Naruto, bad Naruto. I am not a pedophile. Ramen is not for you. But. Slap, slap, slap. Okay, okay, okay. That was exactly what I needed. I'm glad you get it. Let's get rich now. Naruto had gotten to the academy quickly after Sasuke by taking the rooftops, and once there, he leaned against the doorframe and hollered. Oh. LAAAD As one, every female in the class faced him and, upon seeing who it was, turned their backs on him, save one, Naruto shrugged. Oh. It rhymed. Not you, Hinata-chan, he added hastily. When they turned to face him, they wore their most ferocious glare. Naruto shrugged it off like water off a duck's back. Please, he had been glared at by the Kyuubi no Yoko. These girls' glares would get better, especially when she eventually had something approaching boss-strength chans to back it up. That's correct. For the rest of today, Sasuke is on his own, with no one to rescue him. I mean, get in your way in the pursuit of your true love. Several girls looked at him thoughtfully, wondering what the catch was. They were the wiser ones. The rest started edging towards the exit. Naruto had proven to be extremely frustrating when it came to their
pursuits of Sasuke-kun.
Somehow, he was always able to give. Did I mention he has a huge rip in the back of his pants, which means that things that are normally hidden are now exposed? If the stampede to the door was any indication, Naruto had forgotten to mention that one little detail. "Itai," the blonde said. "Memo to myself, don't stand in between a fangirl and the doorway to the object of said fangirl's obsession." Sighing, Hinata Hyuga, the only girl in the class who hadn't glared at Naruto, began to scrape Naruto off the floor. "Why did you do that, Naruto-kun?" "I thought of another get-rich-quick scheme, Hinata-chan." Naruto chuckled. Iruka walked in at that precise moment, asking, "Where is my class?" He asked, and every hand remaining in the room, including Hinata's, pointed to Naruto. Naruto looked affronted at being accused, before turning to Hinata and declaring dramatically, "Et tu, Hinata?" The Hyuga heir giggled. For the first time, Sasuke felt truly grateful to Naruto for all of the time spent running with him. Of course, if it hadn't been for Naruto, he wouldn't be in this situation in the first place, so the gratitude and hatred kind of evened out. Meanwhile, Ino and Sakura had set aside their petty rivalry for the time being and were treating this as a mission, which meant that there was actually some sort of mild cognitive function leading the crush of fangirls after Sasuke. "Ino pig. You take the second squad, use the alleys, and get in front of him," Ino said as he led about a third of the mob down a side street. "Just make sure you're there, forehead, to drive him towards us. We'll be the anvil, but you'll be the hammer. We'll be 4 streets down." Sakura nodded before leading the charge towards their tiring prey with what she thought was a warrior-like war cry, but was actually more along the lines of a fangirlish squeal. Sasuke was cut off, surrounded, and staring death in the face. He had made the mistake of turning into a dead end, oh the irony. It was then, when all hope seemed lost, that Sasuke remembered the free sample that Naruto had given him. With no other option, he pulled out the bottle and pressed the button. Those who came into its stream fell to the floor, either twitching or unconscious. Unseen, Anko smirked from the rooftops. It had been difficult to create a genjutsu that activated when its target was in contact with a specific compound. Difficult, but not impossible. Naruto, who was sitting next to her, smirked as he opened 2 bottles of beer and handed one to Anko. "Now all we have to do is wait for the bottle to empty." "Yep," Anko agreed, "and I can't wait to see his face when it happens." "Do you have the camera?" Naruto inquired, prompting Anko to silently block the producer of his future blackmail material. "You have a negative influence on me, Anko-chan." Anko grinned. "Gaki, I'm not sure, but I think it might be the other way around." Naruto looked thoughtful, then shrugged. Anko immediately pulled his head into her bosom as she hugged him tightly, ignoring his flailing. "I'm so proud. You crazy snake lady, giraffe of me." "Fine, fine," Anko muttered as she let go of him. "Oi. Why is the beer gone?" yelled Naruto. Fox marched back and forth in front of his Anbu, who were all standing at attention. "Alright, everyone, pay attention. Tomorrow, the 9 prospective rookies will face their final test to become genin." "Sir? Goat? I'm not sure why we need to know this information, sir. It all seems quite routine." "Excellent question, Hawk. Would you please elaborate?" The Anbu nodded and took a step forward. Anbu codenames were frequently assigned based on characteristics. Wolf, for example, never gave up on his prey and could track it all the way to the poles if necessary. It was one of the reasons he was always on Naruto's tail. One of the reasons he was so frustrated with the blonde was that he had yet to catch him fairly. Lizard was a master of disguise who got his code name from his proclivity to cling to walls while on assassination missions and take out his target with no one knowing. Cat's name became self-explanatory if anyone ever saw her with her claws unsheathed. Horse. Well, there were rumors, especially among female Anbu members.
Hawk was named after his proclivity to keep an eye on things.
He always seemed to notice significant events. Some speculated that he was a Hyuga, but what was known was that he was an excellent information gatherer and could frequently be found in the company of Falcon, a female Anbu with the same dark brown hair and the same proclivity to keep an eye on things. Falcon, on the other hand, appeared to have a more mischievous side than Hawk, as she frequently gathered photographic evidence of some of her fellows' more embarrassing moments. This year, the Hokage instituted a new training regimen aimed at making the younger generation well-rounded shinobi rather than having a specific specialty. "About bloody time," muttered a voice from the back. "Quite," Fox said calmly, his arm blurring. As the Anbu in front of the malefactor caught a large wrench in the palm of his hand, a meaty thud of metal impacting flesh was heard. "Nice catch, Bear," Fox said calmly. "May I ask why you felt the need to intervene?" Bear swallowed, while Goat, the one who felt compelled to open his mouth, gulped. "Sir, you taught us to always keep an eye out for our fellow Anbu. I saw an attack on a comrade and acted instinctively to stop it." Fox nodded, content. "Excellent work, Bear. I hope there will be no further interruptions?" Goat nodded. "Anyway," Hawk continued, irritably. "The issue is that not everyone likes this idea. Screen, please." A large white screen dropped from the ceiling and a picture was projected onto it. "His name is Mizuki, and he's a Chunin Academy teacher who's a bit of a pain." "Threat level?" Spider inquired. Spider was another Anbu female. She had red hair and a stunning figure, and she was one of Konoha's foremost poison experts. "Minimal. The issue stems from the fact that he's a civilian council informant, which we've used in the past to feed them some false information, you know the drill." The Anbu gave a nod. They were experienced. They did not require spoon-feeding. "I've had a bug planted on him since his attempted sabotage of Uzumaki's graduation test," said one Anbu, clenching their fists inside their gloves. This was obviously the first time they had heard of it. The horse extended his hand. As the only rookie in the room, he was not as confident as the others in the room to simply ask a question. Fox motioned for him to continue, hoping that the others would follow in his footsteps. "Sabotage?" Horse inquired. He persuaded Kyokan Koji to play the role of Naruto's opponent in the taijutsu portion of the test. The Anbu who knew about the blacksmith shuddered. "Shinigami, have mercy, he fought Koji?" Lizard asked quietly. "How bad did it get?" "Actually, Naruto-kun won," Fox joked. Koji bowed out. The lizard snorted. "That sounds about right. The only time that bastard goes down is when he chooses to go down." Anyway, Hawk cut in, his voice slightly husky. Mizuki reported the situation to the council, and they weren't happy. "He doesn't realize it, but Uzumaki is a target, make no mistake," Fox said, nodding. "He's a Jinchuriki, which makes him unstable in their eyes. If he passes these tests, he'll become a ninja on a team that is mostly made up of Konoha's clan heirs, which has the potential to make him more than just a reviled pariah. They're also aware that he's becoming more powerful, which they've tried to prevent from day one. Then there are his interactions with Hyuga Hin." "Excuse me?" Kat inquired. "You all know that Hyuga-san used to be shy, much more retiring than she is now." The Anbu nodded. The Hyuga clan saw this and tried to toughen her up, make her less weak. The council saw this and decided to take advantage of it. Uchiha may be the prince of Konoha, but Hinata is the princess, or at least, she's supposed to be. The council encourages their contacts to treat her with all respect and kindness, so that when she grows up and takes control of the clan, she... Bastards, Goat grumbled. Fox made no attempt to correct him. There's also Enko to consider. If Naruto passes the test, she will be obligated to teach him and the rest of the rookies. They won't want the snake bitch to corrupt their precious clan heirs, and there's also the fact that they despise Naruto on principle. Excuse me, sir? If I'm reading the situation correctly, they don't want Naruto for that, Horse interjected, his voice thoughtful but tinged with disgust. Oh? Do you have anything to say, rookie? Fox asked, pointing to another wrench. No, sir. Oh, Fox, back off and let the kid speak, Cat interjected. Cat motioned for the younger Anbu to take the stage. Horse seemed to shrink within himself, hesitant to stand out from the crowd. Well, Horse, what's your interpretation of the data? Fox asked gently, but it was clear that he expected the rookie to agree with him. Well, sir, Horse replied, resigned to his fate, it doesn't really change the situation, but I think there might be something you overlooked. And what exactly is that? Politics, Horse explained, moving his mask slightly to the side so he could spit. A small rumble shook the gathered Anbu. What role did politics play in this situation? Explain, Bear inquired. You know, I became a ninja to get away from politics, and to be honest, it's a more honest profession, Horse interjected, a grimace visible in his tone. Explain, hissed Cat. Yes, ma'am, Horse responded quickly. He walked onto the stage, causing Hawk to throw his hands up in disgust and sit down. Alright, how should I put this? Fox-sama, you think like a ninja. That's my job, Horse-kun, Fox replied calmly. Right, sir. The thing is, these people aren't ninja. They're politicians, and they think like politicians. When we see Naruto, we see an unholy terror, the source of our problems, a worthy opponent, and a comrade in arms. The Anbu chuckled but said nothing in response to Horse's observations. That's correct, but when they saw Naruto, they saw a Jinchuriki, Kyuubi, the object of their rage. We all know that, Wolf exclaimed. The Horse nodded. Right, but things have changed. When they look at Naruto now, they see power with a capital P. The silence had taken over the room. On the day we signed the first Orange contract, Naruto was called before the council, and several things were revealed: his heritage, his mother, his potential wealth, and his clan. Horse walked over to the blackboard next to the white screen and began scribbling on it as he continued to speak. Right now, he's still a civilian, which means he's still a child. An independent child, to be sure, but a child nonetheless. Before his heritage and wealth were revealed, the council couldn't care less about Naruto. Hell, most of them wanted him dead. Now, however, he's more useful to them alive. The Horse inhaled deeply. We're ninja first and foremost, so we count power as individual skill, technique, and jutsu. But sometimes we forget. Money is power, and a lot of money is a lot of power. I don't know how much you guys know about the economy, so I'll give you a basic rundown. He began drawing a few diagrams on the blackboard. The Land of Fire, like every other nation, relies on Ryo to run everyday life. The global domestic product, or GDP, can generally indicate a country's financial state. The GDP is the market value for all officially recognized final goods and services produced within a country in a given period of time. What one must recognize is that horse, exclaimed Cat. Horse paused in his rant and turned to face Cat. Yes? Don't say anything stupid. Oh, he muttered, blushing. Sorry about that. He began again, taking a deep breath. The economy is like a living thing. It lives in a delicate balance. Upset that balance, and you can end up doing a lot of damage. Now, although the Land of Fire has many cities and towns, there are really only two financial capitals, the capital and Konoha. What's the point? So, the Uzumaki were filthy rich, and Naruto, as a civilian, is still a child, unable to legally take advantage of his prospective wealth. Isn't that a good thing? Can you imagine what that terror could do with unlimited funding? Goat joked. Several Anbu laughed, then paused to reflect. The entire room shivered with fear. Horse moved his head. No, it's not good. As a child, he is vulnerable. If he fails the Genin test, he becomes a true civilian. So what? Lizard wondered, unsure where this was all going. Horse shrugged and proceeded. If he fails the test, he will not be a ninja, nor will he attend the Shinobi Academy. In other words, he will be strictly under the Civilian Council's jurisdiction as a minor. He's never been emancipated, no one cared enough before, but now, I'd bet diamonds to Dango that the papers for his adoption would be approved within the hour of his failure. Naruto will be forced to go through a forced. What? Fox inquired, his voice hardening into steel. A mild susurration ran through the Anbu crowd, and there was a hint of killing intent in the air. The horse nodded. The council is now aware of his wealth, or at least his potential wealth. If they can control him, they can gain access to that. If he becomes a ninja, they can't manage that. Horse shook his head. And if they get access to that, all kinds of problems will arise. As he continued to speak, he resumed sketching. The Uzumaki were thought to be extinct after Kushina-sama died, which happened to coincide with the Kyuubi's rampage. He turned to face the others. What do you think happened with the Uzumaki's money, That much cash, Konoha in desperate need of funds to begin rebuilding. Do the math. Konoha can't give Naruto his money, because they've already spent it. They've invested it, used it wisely, for the most part, but used it all the same. Look it up in the records, the distribution of funds has all been recorded. Naruto can't do anything about it. Lots. That's why we have the Civilian Council. They handle trade agreements and the like, Goat responded. Horse simply shook his head. Konoha, as in the village itself, owns almost nothing in the way of assets. The money doesn't belong to Konoha. It belongs to the clans in Konoha, to the merchants in Konoha. The village itself gets most of its funding from the daimyo, as well as a small percentage from every mission that its ninja go on, not nearly enough to cover such a massive debt. So then, what are we going to do if? What about the chakra metal mines? Fox inquired. Don't those belong to Konoha? The rookie sheepishly scratched the back of his head, a habit that many Anbu seem to have picked up. Actually, the mines are in what was once the territory of Uzushiogakure, so technically they belong to the Uzumaki as well, because what other clan could use so much chakra to permeate entire mines of metal with energy? Horse shook his head. We make a profit from the missions that our ninja perform, but the majority of the money from a mission goes to the ninja who performed it, and the little extra we make is taxed by the daimyo. If we are forced to repay all of the debt we owe to that clan, the only way we can do so is to take multiple loans. which the civilian council would be only too happy to provide, Hawk muttered as he realized what he was saying. Why don't we get a loan from a bank? He grimaced as he considered his own question. Because they'd be able to buy our debt and charge us a higher interest rate. The horse nodded. Exactly. In either case, they'll lend us the money, and at a high interest rate. We'd then spend everything we had to try to pay back that loan and the interest on a monthly basis. If we didn't, the interest would rise. To pay up, the most basic systems and institutions on which people have come to rely would simply vanish. We wouldn't be able to train more shinobi. The shinobi we do have will be forced to do more profitable, and... Oh, Wolf said hesitantly. Is that it? Horse moved his head. I'm afraid I can't. You mean there's more? Lizard exclaimed, pausing and murmuring darkly under his breath. Of course there's more. There always is. The horse shrugged. Naruto is Uzumaki Isamu's grandson, he explained. In the silence, a cricket chirped. Horse sighed and rubbed his brow. Uzumaki Isamu? Uzushiogakir's daimyo and Azukage? Horse sighed again, as none of his fellow shinobi seemed to understand. Naruto is his grandson, his heir, which means he is effectively the daimyo of Uzushio, despite the fact that the village no longer exists. After the destruction of Uzushio, the nation was integrated into the Land of Fire. In a situation like this, as a civilian, he would gain something rather annoying. Diplomatic immunity. Basically, we can't do jack against him if he were a civilian. Because he's a royal, he can have direct access to the daimyo when he's of age, and if he's not, his legal guardian can. So, Fox said calmly after hearing enough. The bottom line is, if Naruto doesn't become a genin tomorrow, we're all screwed. The horse nodded. Yes, sir, yes, sir. The crowd fell silent for a moment before Goat broke it again. Well, shit. Although the others didn't share Goat's proclivity to spout the first thing that came to mind, which seemed to be a problem for him, they couldn't help but agree with him. Thank you, horse. This conversation was most illuminating, Fox said calmly before turning to face Hawk. What can we anticipate? Hawk reached for his clipboard. A number of ninja from civilian families. Several clan members who don't like the idea of their clan heirs associating with the demon brat and the snake bitch. Narrow-minded fools. Remind me, why do we put up with the cripples attack dogs? Fox sighed. Plausible deniability. The fact that they have a couple powerful ninja and that uprooting them would cause a civil war, weakening Konoha enough that we'd be easy pickings for any of the other great hidden villages, Lizard explained, ticking his fingers. Be quiet. According to previous reports, we can also expect Mitarashi-san to try to sabotage Naruto's exam, as she apparently doesn't want to be stuck training so many brats, Hawk interjected. Don't worry, I've got you covered, Fox assuredly. Isn't that correct, Snake? Anko removed her mask and crossed her arms as she stood in the middle of the crowd. You know, Fox-san, when you gave me a mask and cloak and told me to follow you, I had no idea what to expect, but I promised myself that no matter what was said, I'd still go after the Gaki's ass come sunrise. And now what? Anko exhaled a sigh. It just goes to show that we are sometimes forced to eat our own words. So, Fox-sama, what do we do? Cat inquired. What are we doing? Nothing. What? Yelled the entire Anbu force. Fox shook his head. We don't have time to consult the Hokage and plan a mission, and even if we did, we'd be interfering with a genin test and mobilizing against a non-corporeal threat, fighting against Konoha ninja. As Anbu, This is strictly against our oath, and there's nothing we can do. Yeah, sure. Glad I'm not an Anbu, Anko grumbled. However, Fox mused aloud. You could hear a wolfish, or perhaps foxy, grin in his voice if you listened carefully. You've all been under a lot of stress lately, so why don't you all take tomorrow off? You'll be on call, of course, but I'll take care of the paperwork. Oh, and before you go, could you check the armory? Some fool left it unlocked, and I think Naruto might have gotten in. We're going to have to do a stocktake in a couple of days to find out what we still have, because right now, we have no idea. Yes, sir, Wolf replied, saluting their commander after he spoke. Good, Fox said as he walked out of the building. Anko smiled as she turned to face the Anbu who surrounded her. Your boss is fantastic. We are aware. Naruto awoke early the next morning, yawning loudly. He got out of bed and started getting ready for the day, moving slowly in his half-asleep state. It was far too unholy an hour to be awake at 5:30 a.m. Hurry up, you have a big day today. Wesh die helm up? Because today is the day you re-emerge as a ninja. Bihu damana kakasab verilate. That may be true, but you still need to get up. Gotahul, Naruto muttered as he sank back into his bed. Alright, Kyuubi, hit it. With happiness. Naruto became immobile. He wasn't sure how he felt about that. He heard the whir click of a tape about to be played 2 seconds later, then. D-D-D-da-D-D-do-do. D-da-D-D-do. The high-pitched voice inside his head began to sing. Naruto froze, his head shaking compulsively, trying to muffle the noise, unable to change the song. Do the hamster dance, says the hamster. A-R-R-R-G-G-G-G-H-H-H. A plainclothes Anbu in a black bandana with a lizard motif stood outside, his hand to his mouth, which was covered with a Kakashi-style mask. Lizard has reported that the subject is awake. Copy Lizard, do you have anything else to report? Yes, we have 3 bogies looking for a way into the premises. Can you look after it? Nah, I think I'll help them get in. Through the front door, of course. Lizard chuckled as he used the genjutsu that gave him his name, one Jiraiya would have killed to know, to become almost completely invisible as he stalked his prey. 3 Chunin were on their way to Naruto's apartment building. Today's shinobi supplies included a bottle of chloroform and several wads of cotton. They reasoned that if the demon brat could simply be made to miss the test, not only would he fail, but Uchiha-sama could still pass. They wouldn't try to kill the Jinchuriki. The Sandame thought that was a bad idea, hence the chloroform. However, as they walked towards their destination, they agreed that they could still have a little fun. The fox, after all, had a healing factor and would be unconscious. What no one knew could not possibly harm them, could it? The first one, chuckling darkly, opened the front door and lurched backward, narrowly avoiding falling into a large pit. The hole in the ground was shrouded in darkness, and it was so deep that it was difficult to see the bottom. What is this madness? Muttered one of them. Madness? A rage-filled voice called from behind them. Lizard roared, "This is Konoha." As he and 2 rock clones dropped their stealth jutsu and Mule kicked the Chunin into the pit as one. Lizard nodded, content. If he remembered correctly, the walls of that pit negated the effects of chakra, making escape much more difficult. He was about to leave when he noticed something that made a big grin spread across his face. He reached into his pocket and pulled out an airtight bag, slashed it with a kunai, and tossed it into the pit, allowing the scent of high-grade catnip to fill the air. He stood there for a while longer, watching Tora throw herself down the pit in search of catnip. Screams of pain reached his ears seconds later. Lizard sighed contentedly. It was sometimes the little things in life that made it worthwhile to live. Naruto reached his back window and simply jumped out, grumbling under his breath and ignoring the sound of canned laughter that reverberated inside his head. He rolled to break his fall, easily rising to his feet and ignoring the shocked expressions of those who had thought they had just witnessed someone hurl himself to his doom. Please. That's exactly what would happen. What should he eat for breakfast now? Toki was taken aback by his good fortune. He was wondering how he was going to get to the Kyuubi kid when he just jumped out in front of him. Simply put, this was too good to be true. All he needed now was a quick escape plan. His eyes widened. A manhole to the sewers, perfect. He crept close by, removed the top of the manhole, and stood on either side of it. He only needed to cast a lightning jutsu to knock him out for a few hours, jump down the manhole, and he'd be home free. His face lit up with a smile. This was truly his lucky day. When a small wooden dragon appeared from the hole beneath him, his smile became sickly. As it bit down hard, there was a distinct crunch. Toki folded, his unresponsive body falling into the manhole and down into the sewers with his legs clenched together, any thought of hand signs forgotten. A sound, somewhere between a splash and a gloop, could be heard if one listened carefully. Seconds later, a man wearing a black bandana with a wolf's snarling face and a face mask hoisted himself out of the manhole and carefully covered the sewer entrance once more. He concentrated, holding out his right hand and forcing it to spark with electricity. He proceeded to weld the manhole shut with a roll of wire, whistling happily as he did so. Naruto considered how the day would unfold. He knew he was supposed to be fighting Kakashi for his genin graduation test, but that wasn't for another 3 or 4 hours, so he was fine for the time being. But he also had his cats to feed, and if he didn't show up, Sasuke and Sakura would be irritated.
Make a few clones to do the other jobs.
Naruto shook his head. Why not, eh? With his fingers crossed, he caused 2 Kage Bunshin to phase into existence, with no smoke or sound to indicate their presence. A man with a horse's head on his bandana blinked. Uzumaki has come a long way with the Kage Bunshin jutsu. It almost seems tailor-made for him. That doesn't mean you're forgiven for teaching him that jutsu in the first place, a voice said over his radio. The horse sighed. How is the situation? Well, horse grunted, scuffling slightly with the 2-root ninja he had in a chokehold beneath each arm. Right now, I'm taking out the trash. Will you hurry up? Fine. Using chakra-enhanced strength, Horse smashed the 2 ninjas' heads together, knocking them unconscious. Naruto has created 2 clones, the clones are heading east and west, and he is staying on course. Copy that, Horse said, turning off the radio and looking down at the 2-root. Damn, I'm good, he said proudly as he lifted the 2 immobile bodies onto his shoulders. Don't get too cocky, rookie, Horse shrugged, turning to face Bull and the 4-root he was easily dragging behind him. I'm not cocky. I know I'm the rookie, but I'm also an Anbu. I've spent more time on Code Orange than fighting actual ninja, so this kinda reminds me that I am, you know? Bull nodded as he lifted the lid of the dumpster, which was mostly empty. Sure. I guess I understand, he said as he began to throw the root ninja away. Doesn't it feel good? Horse shrugged, slamming the lid shut and tossing his own responsibilities in the trash. When it didn't close completely, he blinked, lifted the lid for a second to nudge the now slightly squashed fingers out of the way, and closed it again. I guess it does, he admitted, slightly uneasy. It just seems like this should be more difficult. After all, it's a lot easier than going after Naruto-kun. The bull nodded. Makes you wonder why we bother trying to protect him in the first place, doesn't it? Horse gave a firm shake of his head. No, there's an easy answer to that. Naruto is ours, and if the people of Konoha want to hurt or sabotage him, they'll have to go through us. He paused for a moment before grinning. Or, at the very least, get in line, Bull agreed, laughing. As Naruto approached Ichiraku, a wide smile crossed his features. It was one of the few restaurants that opened at that hour. Tucci was one of the few who understood that ninja are always awake. But that wasn't what made him smile. Hinata-chan! Naruto exclaimed, waving at the girls sitting at the booth with Kiba and Shino on either side of her. Hello, Naruto-kun, Hinata said cheerfully, waving back, delighted to see him. Kiba grumbled sourly, what are we, chopped liver? Akamaru growled at him. Kiba yelled, what do you mean, don't flatter yourself? Tucci exclaimed, Naruto. He turned to face Kiba. Move, he said. What? Exclaimed Kiba. You can't do that. I was here first. Tucci, on the other hand, would not be denied. Tucci saw visions of pale-eyed, blonde-haired children eating staggeringly large amounts of ramen, throwing bills of Ryo like confetti that rained down on the ground all around him. He locked his gaze on Kiba. My store. My rules. Naruto-kun is my best customer, and you are sitting in his seat. Move. In addition to the glare, Tucci used killing intent on the dog-themed ninja. Kiba shifted. Naruto protested by waving his hands. No, it's okay, Oji-san, I'll find another. Naruto, sit down, Naruto said, blinking. Tucci and Arlia had both given the same command at the same time. Naruto sat down gingerly before turning to face Hinata with a small smile. So. How are you doing? He asked, wagging his brows. Hinata laughed at his performance. Everything is fine, Naruto-kun. We just came here for a meal before our genin test. Kiba nodded and slurped a noodle. Yeah, it starts in a couple of hours, so we still had some time to kill, so Hinata suggested we go get some food while we wait. Speaking of the aforementioned demonstration of our skills for grading purposes, I must confess that your presence here causes me some concern, Uzumaki-san, because, unless I am misremembering the time frame, was your assessment not supposed to begin approximately 9.5 minutes ago? Naruto frowned. Come on, Shino, you and I know each other. Don't call me Uzumaki-san. My name is Naruto, and you can say it with me now, Naruto. Tucci chose this particular moment to interrupt. Is what Shino said true, Naruto? Are you late for your genin test? Naruto walked away. Don't worry, Kakashi-sensei will be here in at least 2 hours. Tucci shrugged, content. Besides, I have a cage bunshin just in case, Naruto added. Sure, they pop easily, but nothing should be attacking it, so it's all good, right? A man sighed and scratched beneath his goat emblazoned bandana, swearing under his breath. We've got 12 roots incoming on our position. How are 2 of us supposed to take them out without Naruto's clone noticing us? Wolf dropped next to them and said, 3 of us. My question remains, Goat deadpanned. Where are they? Wolf inquired. Ask Spider, Spider said, motioning to their third-party member. Spider, who was also wearing a bandana and mask that revealed a pair of striking green eyes, smiled before pointing out the root nin. There are 6 windows on the 3rd floor, 4th from the left. We don't need to worry about them. Anko extended 3 fingers to the woman wearing a mask and a cat bandana standing next to her outside said room on the 3rd floor. Ready, Yugo? In 3, 2, 1. Anko spun around and kicked the door down, Yugo right next to her. Hello, my little friend. Anko yelled, and they fired their weapons in unison, entangling their 6 targets in wire nets. Yugo grabbed the wires trailing from the barrel of their net casters and channeled an electric current through the metal, shocking them unconscious. I love this thing. Anko exclaimed, rubbing her mask-covered cheek against the large net launcher. Our issues are in the alleys, there and there, Spider explained. Streets, there, and there, and 12 on the ground level, we'll deal with them. So, how are we supposed to get them when they're down there and we're on the roofs? Wolf inquired, more out of curiosity than anything else. Spider responded by opening her trench coat. Wolf just stood there, staring. Truly? He exclaimed. Truly. Wolf reached out almost reverently towards what had been hidden by the woman's figure, his hand shaking as if about to touch the Holy Grail, and helped himself to the tranquilizers that Spider had hidden all over her person. Goat was the next to try to arm himself, but Spider quickly closed her coat again. What's going on? He demanded angrily. Get yours from Wolf. You're not going near my chest. Goat sighed despondently. What exactly is a cage bunshin? Kiba inquired. Naruto slurped a noodle before enthusiastically responding. It's my newest, oldest technique. The Cage Bunshin no Jutsu creates a solid clone out of chakra, and when it dispels, any memories that the clone had are dumped into the minds of its creator and any other shadow clone that he, or she, created. Kiba's eyes blinked. That sounds useful. Naruto gave a nod. Yeah, and the clones are fairly intelligent, and they can even perform their own jutsu, making it one of the best clone jutsu there is. When did you learn it? Shino inquired flatly. Naruto rubbed his chin, embarrassed. A few days later, I spent several hours attempting to avoid being beaten to a pulp. Hinata was flushed. Father was a little upset with Naruto-kun, she explained. Naruto looked at her with wide eyes. A little? Hinata, he threatened me with a rusted sword. Don't be silly, Naruto-kun, Hinata gently advised. Father would never do something like that. Naruto let out a sigh of relief. The only sword appropriate for such an act would be the family sword, and it is very well maintained, with no rust to speak of, Hinata blithely continued. Naruto jumped again, turning his head to look at the Hyuga heir, who had an innocent little smile on her face. He couldn't tell if she was serious or not for the life of him. You know, I think she's been hanging out with my wife for a little too long, Shinigami mused. What do you think? That's not entirely a bad thing. Wolf returned his attention to the tranquilizer in his hand, then to the 12-root shinobi lying unconscious beneath them, each with a single dart embedded somewhere in their bodies, before returning to the tranquilizer. How come we aren't funding this? Tucci smiled as he heard Naruto and his friends laughing from behind his business. He ladled a portion of ramen into 4 bowls after another stir in the pot. You can come out now, he said quietly enough that his customers wouldn't hear him. I'm aware you're present. Remarkable, a voice whispered as the shinobi who spoke it emerged from the shadows. A regular ramen chef spotting a ninja like me. Tucci laughed. I wasn't always a ramen chef, son. Now, what do you want? He gruffly asked. I just want you to do some doctoring on the Jinchuriki's food, he explained, holding out a small vial filled with a viscous liquid. Normally, I do it myself, but with 3 clan leaders' children at stake, 2 of whom are heirs to the clan. Well, I can't afford to make mistakes. Tucci smirked. Do you want to murder him? The ninja's head shook. Nothing so drastic. My employers simply do not want him to pass his genin test. They believe it would be best if he waited another year or 2 before venturing into the world of shinobi and getting himself killed. Tucci slowly nodded. How does it benefit me? The ninja said nothing and simply threw a small bag at Tucci. He blinked, surprised by the weight, and opened the bag to reveal a slew of gold coins. With that kind of money, Tucci, you could finally get those upgrades you've always wanted, like turning this stand into a full-fledged restaurant. Tucci slowly nodded his head. I could do that. That sounds like a pretty good deal, Ayame. The ninja turned around with a start. How about no? Ayame asked sweetly before hurling a boiling kettle at his face. He immediately raised his arms, hissing as the hot water burned through his clothes. I second that, Tucci said cheerfully, swinging an oversized frying pan around like a baseball bat. As a loud clang filled the air, the conversation came to a halt. It was a good clang, with the oi, Tucci Oji-san, are you okay? Yelled Naruto. We're fine, Naruto, we're just taking out the trash. Several more loud clangs and bangs could be heard coming from the kitchen. Well, Ayame said, dusting her hands and smiling contentedly. That's taken care of. Not quite, Tucci countered, weighing the sack full of gold coins the width of a large man's wrist. Let it never be said that a man left Ichiraku's hungry. Tucci then threw the unconscious ninja into the alley behind their store. Ayame arrived moments later, a broom in hand, sweeping a pile of dust sprinkled with enamel into the alley. Lizard released his camouflage jutsu a few minutes later, his eyes wide and traumatized. He muttered, I hope they sterilize their hands before serving any more food. Naruto's clone trudged through the undergrowth, a sealed scroll in his hands, deep in the forest of death. It was relatively safe for him to walk through the forest by this point. Sure, he had to keep an eye out for Anko, the scorpions, the giant spiders, Anko the giant leeches, the odd rodent of unusual size, the man-eating plants, Anko, the lightning sand, the old traps, Anko. Man, he needs to reconsider his definition of safe. However, the more dangerous animals no longer bothered him. The last time he could recall was having to outrun a colossal bear a few weeks ago. The next day, his kitties were unusually full, and Suji was gnawing on a massive femur that appeared to have once belonged to an oversized bear. A route team trailed him about 40 meters behind him, its members having a bit more difficulty navigating the forest. A horse trailed behind the route, keeping to the ground, while a ninja in a monkey-faced bandana and a face mask moved silently through the trees above him. The horse grimaced as he felt something nasty squish beneath his feet. Join the Anbu, horse muttered quietly. It's a man's life, he added. If it's a man's life, why are the women so much scarier? Why were they following this clone in the first place? Oh, because they couldn't be sure this wasn't the genuine article. Bullshit. It doesn't take a genius to figure out which of 3 Naruto is eating Ichiraku. But Monkey and Bull were superior to him. Bull had told him to work with Monkey to track down this clone in the Forest of Death. He didn't come himself because, well, Bull wasn't exactly known for his stealth. Wait, the clone was slowing down. Perhaps they were nearing their destination. But why would Naruto travel to a boulder-strewn clearing? Horse tightened his grip on his kunai, his eyes widening as a veritable pride of Konoha's giant white tigers arose from the ground beneath him. Then it's not boulders. His gaze darted from one corner to the next. There were over 40 beasts in total, and those were just the ones that could be seen. Horse forced himself to relax by taking a deep breath. Naruto couldn't be harmed because it was just a clone down there. Regardless, he couldn't help but flinch as the largest of those tigers let out a thunderous roar. Yeah, Suji, will you please quiet down? I know you don't like it when the boss sends a clone, but he was kinda busy, okay? The tiger chuffed angrily and sat next to the clone, as if waiting for something. The clone withdrew a large scroll from his jacket and unsealed a small mountain of meat, revealing exactly what he had been waiting for. Alright, boys, get to work. Each tiger approached the pile, grabbed one piece of meat in their jaws, and moved off a short distance before settling down to eat. They returned to the pile for a second piece as soon as they finished the first. There was no fighting or growling, only deliberate, calm action. Alright. See you guys tomorrow, the clone said cheerfully before dispelling himself.
That was a waste of time, Horse said to Monkey. Oh, I wouldn't say so, Monkey replied, a small chuckle in his voice. Take a look at our root friends.
Horse looked around, curious, and had to stifle a chuckle when he saw the root team all caught up in a net trap about 30 feet off the ground. 3, no 4, tigers were looking up at them and licking their lips beneath them. There were more tigers on their way. Nice kitty? One of the root asked Horse. In response, the tiger roared. Naruto spent a pleasant morning laughing and joking with the new old teammate, with the occasional flirting with Hinata thrown in. The root ninja, on the other hand, had a hellish time because anyone who even looked at Naruto funny was taken out quickly, silently, and humiliatingly. The Anbu, on the other hand, had a fantastic time reaffirming their superiority while testing out a variety of weapons from the armory that were normally restricted. The Joy Buzzer and Tranquilizers were especially well liked. In fact, despite the fact that only a fraction of the Tranquilizers had been used, the entire stock had miraculously vanished. But all good things must come to an end, and Naruto had finally arrived at the training grounds. Kakashi would be there in 10 minutes, and being late would be inappropriate. Goodbye, everyone, and best wishes on your graduation exam. Yeah, thanks man, and you as well. To acknowledge that we require luck appears derogatory, as it implies that the only way we could obtain documentation of true shinobi is through a twist of fate in our favor. However, I thank you for the sentiment. Good luck, Naruto-kun. Hey, Hinata-chan, you know what I mean. See you later. I repeat, all units converge on me. Subject has finished breakfast and is on his way to the exam. Whistling, Naruto jumped to the rooftops and began his journey to the training grounds. Around 200 meters behind him, 2 root shinobi charged forward, blades unsheathed, hoping to reach the Uzumaki before something happened to prevent them from doing so. That hope was quickly dashed, as they discovered. A large panel of stone simply folded out of the wall at right angles directly in their path in the middle of one of their jumps, making them look like a pair of oversized bugs on a stone windshield. Nice work, Wolf. Thank you very much, Bull. Are there any other hostiles in the area? Roughly 8. Problem? On the other end of the radio, there was a traumatized scream and what sounded like Anko screaming, "You made me drop my dango." We've got it covered. Naruto arrived at the training area without incident, unaware of what was going on around him. Shinigami, on the other hand, was almost impressed. The Anbu of this generation were far more capable than the ones he remembered. When Naruto arrived at the training field, he gave his waiting clone a high five, causing it to explode in a cloud of smoke. Sakura gaped as she noticed this, her mouth opening and closing several times in a remarkable imitation of a fish. Sasuke, on the other hand, simply grunted before staring off into the distance. "You left us with nothing but a clone," Sakura mumbled. "Yep," Naruto said cheerfully before turning to face Sasuke. "How are you doing, Sasuke?" "HNN," Sasuke replied. With a slight frown, Naruto reached into his kunai holder and pulled out a large, heavy stick that could not have fit inside what it had just come out of. When Sasuke noticed it, he straightened up and looked Naruto in the eyes. "I am doing fine, thank you Naruto, for asking about my well-being. I will admit to having slight jitters about our upcoming assessment and am a little annoyed that our sensei is taking so long to actually show up. And how are you today on this fine morning?" Sasuke asked in a falsely cheerful tone, warily eyeing the emo stick. Sniff. "What's the deal with you? It's almost enough to bring a tear to your eye seeing such a well-trained little Uchiha." Sakura looked at Sasuke, astounded, her previous displeasure with Naruto forgotten. That was possibly the most she had ever heard Sasuke say to anyone. Ma, it's so nice to see such cute little genin get along." Kakashi had appeared seemingly out of nowhere. "You're late," Sakura reprimanded loudly. Kakashi walked past them, slightly chuckling, and placed an alarm clock on a stump. "Alright, the timer is set for noon." "Seriously, you had an alarm clock literally on your person and you still arrive late?" Deadpanned Naruto. Kakashi completely ignored him. "I have 2 bells here," he said, holding them in the air. "Your mission is to take these from me before the time runs out. Those who don't have a bell by noon get no lunch. I'll not only tie you to one of those stumps," he said, pointing to the 3 training stumps in the center of the field. "I'll eat it right in front of you as well." A loud grumbling sound emanated from the stomachs of all 3 genin. "Wait a minute, what the hell is wrong with your stomach? You just ate like 6 bowls of ramen. Was it 17? "Exactly," Naruto reasoned. "It's a miracle I'm still standing after only 6 bowls of the food of the gods." The Shinigami sighed, having given up on convincing Naruto that ramen was not the food of the gods, and he would know. He tried, oh how he tried, but it seemed impossible to make it stick in this case. When you think about it, that was pretty impressive. You only need to get 1 bell, but there are only 2, so one of you will definitely be tied to the stump, and the person who doesn't take a bell fails, so at least one of you will be sent back to the academy. You can use shuriken and kunai if you want, but you won't exceed unless you come at me with the intent to kill." "But," Sakura pointed out, "you'll be in trouble." Naruto couldn't help himself. He couldn't stop laughing. So far, the meeting was proceeding almost identically to the previous timeline, and he couldn't help but recall his initial reaction to Kakashi's declaration that they needed to come at him with the intent to kill. He had laughed then, too, but he had laughed at Kakashi, confident in his superiority after witnessing Kakashi's inability to dodge a blackboard eraser. So he laughed, hiccuping slightly as he tried to control himself, then thought of Sakura actually thinking she was a threat to Kakashi and burst out laughing again. This laughter, however, was short-lived, as Sasuke drew back his foot and landed a solid kick in Naruto's side, driving out all of his air and killing his laughter at the same time. Kakashi blinked as his prospective students interacted. "Is there anything amusing to you, Naruto?" "Shush. She thinks we have a chance." No, scratch that, she thinks we have the advantage. Bawahahahaha, Naruto's laughter was cut short as if by a knife. She thinks we have a chance of beating you, no, a chance of killing you. You don't have to laugh about it, Naruto. Oh, come on, Kakashi-sensei, you have to admit that when you look at it that way, it's a little funny. Kakashi closed his eyes in a smile that, unbeknownst to the others, Naruto was already familiar with. Ma, I suppose it's a little funny when you put it that way, Naruto-kun, Kakashi replied. Naruto deadpanned, he's an elite Junin, Sakura-chan. The only real chance we have of killing him is if he has a heart attack and collapses, frothing at the mouth. Sakura blinked, then fixed her gaze on him. That was interestingly specific. Yes. Yes, it was, the voices in Naruto's head agreed before evilly chuckling. Don't encourage him, muttered Sasuke, his lips barely moving. He doesn't require it. Well, I'm sorry to interrupt such a cute little genin's bonding time, but the clock, as they say, is ticking. We will begin on the go. Sasuke and Sakura looked serious as they prepared to move quickly, while Naruto clasped his hands together and stretched them out in front of him, cracking his knuckles. Set? The others nodded in agreement. Are you sure? I mean, there's no shame in just leaving now, that way we don't have to. Get on with it, yelled Naruto. Yeah, get on with it, yelled Sasuke and Sakura. But I'm really enjoying this scene, Kakashi grumbled. Get on with it, Kyuubi and Shinigami yelled, still unheard of by everyone except Naruto. Go. Katsu. Boom. As soon as the word, go, passed through Kakashi's mask, the ground beneath his feet exploded violently. Sasuke and Sakura had vanished almost simultaneously, hiding among the trees. Of course, Naruto was the one who detonated the explosive. Well, that was surprising, Kakashi mused aloud, his form briefly obscured by the smoke. If I'd just been a couple of steps to the right, that could have really done me some damage, you know? He finished as the last of the smoke dissipated, revealing Kakashi standing a short distance away, his uniform ruffled but otherwise unharmed. Naruto just smiled. Kai. Kakashi's single visible eye widened as he ducked down to the ground to avoid the kunai that shot towards him from the ground seal. Didn't you trap the training ground? Kakashi asked, half admiringly. You basically told us where you'd bet testing us, Naruto replied blithely. Wouldn't it be stupid of me not to make sure I had prepared the ground beforehand? That's right, Kakashi agreed. Sasuke and Sakura winced in the trees. You seem to be fairly well versed in seals, Kakashi observed while standing on the side of a tree to avoid the arcing ground around it. Naruto laughed. Hardly, he sighed, before absent-mindedly muttering, Katsu, causing the tree Kakashi was standing on to explode violently. At this point, I wouldn't even consider myself an apprentice, Kakashi said, pausing for a moment, the smoke still gently wafting off his singed Chunin vest. Excuse me? He asked, perplexed. I had hours to prepare the battlefield, Naruto grumbled. All I could do was set a few traps that were barely bothering you. I'm not your average ninja, Kakashi stated dryly, standing still for the time being because Naruto wasn't setting off any traps while he spoke. Yeah, but I'm supposed to be an Uzumaki, Naruto replied, a little dejectedly. Supposedly, if you gave even an apprentice Uzumaki hours to prepare the battleground, going against them in a straight fight was almost suicide. Not entirely, the Jonin said. Those who focus on exotic arts, such as seals or puppetry, will frequently neglect the shinobi basics, allowing an opponent to exploit such a gap in their education. Yeah, well, isn't it the sensei's job to teach them such things? Naruto inquired, his voice dry. True. Ergo, Lesson 1. Taijutsu, Kakashi said as he shunshined up to Naruto and sent a crescent kick his way. Alarmed, Naruto raised his arms in a block, but the force of the kick propelled him into the air, where he crashed violently into the ground a few meters away. Kakashi immediately followed him, his hands moving in a blur as he attacked Naruto, who moved desperately to defend himself. Despite his efforts, he was unable to avoid everything. Approximately 1 out of every 5 blows passed through his guard and landed at least a glancing blow on his body. That might not seem like much, but with the number of blows Kakashi was delivering, Naruto was quickly becoming overwhelmed. Now, I'm not a monkey's fight expert, but after seeing Naruto hold his ground and even defeat multiple Anbu in hand-to-hand combat, I thought he would have been a larger challenge to Kakashi. Shinigami shook his head. He's still young, and doesn't have nearly the same experience in fighting in hand-to-hand as Kakashi does. Besides, Naruto's style is designed to quickly build up momentum in the fight and then take out the enemy as soon as possible. It's a dirty method of fighting, and can be quite effective, as could be seen when he did take on Anbu. But remember, when it came to fighting Hiashi, the taijutsu specialist. However, what they were saying was correct, which meant Naruto needed to do something to change the status quo. Fortunately, one of his clones had just appeared to inform him that the final piece of his plan had been installed. Naruto dropped a pair of smoke bombs and accepted a punch to the gut, abandoning his defense. Most people would have puked from the force of the blow, but Naruto was made of tough stuff and was able to hold enough air in his lungs to wheeze out a single word. Henge. As the smoke slowly dissipated, there was silence in the air. Kakashi was well aware that something had been done to him. He could tell because something felt like it was riding right up his. He blinked and held his arm up in front of his face. His pupils dilated. He looked down at his chest, horrified, and took a look at himself. "What did you do to me?" Kakashi asked quietly. He wasn't sure how, but Naruto had changed him in the middle of a battle. Instead of his respectable shinobi garb, he was now dressed in a jumpsuit similar to the one Guy never seemed to take off. Except for one thing. Instead of being a monochrome green, this jumpsuit appeared to have been colored by a colorblind, tie-dye enthusiast, stoned hippie. It was completely covered in all of the rainbow's colors and more. It did, of course, include orange leg warmers. Worst of all, it glistened. He stood there, gleaming in the sunlight like some sort of skankpire from the Nightfall heresy. Kakashi managed to calm himself down by breathing erratically. Well, at least it can't get any worse, he gritted, his teeth clenched. Oh, my everlasting rival. For a brief moment, Kakashi thought his heart had skipped a beat. Either that, or he froze like a rabbit in headlights, because the next thing he knew, Guy was standing right in front of him, gripping both of his shoulders and wiping away manly tears. "I read your confession, on how you had set aside your hip and cool ways and decided to embrace your springtime of youth." Guy exclaimed, yelled. "Truly this is a most circumspect day." Guy's mini-me exclaimed from beside his sensei. "When your eternal rival has finally seen his own youth." "Guy," Kakashi said, his tone somewhere between perplexed and horrified. "Kakashi." "Guy," Kakashi replied, his voice now more forewarning, but tinged with frightened shitlessness. "Kakashi." Guy exclaimed, his tears falling again. "Guy sensei." "Lee." "Guy sensei I." With that, the two green-clad figures bounded together, arms around each other as they drank deeply from their own fountain of youth. Waves crashing on a sandy beach in the background as the sun set below the horizon, bathing everything in golden light. And Kakashi was in the center of that embrace, surrounded on all sides by extreme male youth. Kyuubi, who was more familiar with this phenomenon than Naruto, was lying on the ground with his front paws pinning both his ears over his eyes. Shinigami, who had not taken any precautions after being assured that after looking after the realm of the dead for so many eons, would not find the sight too taxing, was busy dry retching in a corner. Naruto frowned, having seen the event through the reflection of a kunai so as not to be terrified. He's passed out and is still frothing at the mouth, but I'm not sure if he had a heart attack or not. WHO cares? He's drunk. Grab the bells. Naruto carefully removed the bells from Kakashi's immobile form, taking care not to look at the light. Thank you, Guy-sensei, he said cheerfully as he turned to walk away. Actually, I believe he did have a heart attack. Naruto could feel his own heart pounding in his throat. What? Right now, he's at the gates of my realm. Kakashii. No. Guy exclaimed in denial. Lee, quickly. Perform Kakashi's chest compressions. Hi, Guy-sensei. Lee exclaimed as he pressed down on Kakashi's chest. Guy, on the other hand, drew Kakashi's mask down and tilted his head to the side to allow the foam to drain. Naruto noted absently that he was mistaken about the buckteeth. Kakashi was a rather attractive man, complete with beauty spot. Naruto remained horrified as Guy manipulated Kakashi's head into the proper position, lips parted, and then leaned forward, eyes closed and mouth open. By the way, I was only joking. He just fainted. Naturally, Kakashi regained consciousness at that point. He noticed the sight above him, but it was too late to save him. The muffled screams and flailing limbs, on the other hand, alerted Guy to the fact that his friend was not, in any sense, dead. As Might Guy came up for air, a sound resembling a toilet plunger becoming unstuck resounded throughout the area. Kakashi rolled onto his side and spitting profusely. Kakashi-san. You're alive. Guy and Lee exclaimed as one. Kill you, muttered Kakashi. Eh? They inquired. Kill you, he said again, perhaps with the strongest killing intent since Kyuubi and Kushina Uzumaki. Slowly raising his headband, Kakashi revealed his Sharingan eye, which was swirling in his rage, slowly changing to a pinwheel formation and back again. Naruto swallowed. His sensei was staring him down. Well, I see where I'm interfering. I'll just leave you and Guy-sensei alone to have some privacy. Naruto apologized before fleeing the scene as quickly as he could. He screamed like a little girl. Auuuggggghhhhh. Aaarrrrrrrggggggghhhh. Kakashi yelled after him, a bellow of inarticulate, immeasurable rage. Falcon turned to Hawk in the trees, barely 100 meters away, from where the two of them had been hiding since the early hours of the morning to ensure that nothing went wrong. Could you please tell me you got it? Hawk turned to face his partner, who could see his shite-eating grin through the mask he wore to conceal his face. Hawk lovingly patted the video camera he held in one hand. Every single moment is captured in high definition. Hiruzen watched through his crystal ball as Naruto did everything he could to avoid being buried by one of Konoha's shinobi. He was, however, taken aback when he saw the last Uchiha willingly go out of his way to save Naruto from an untenable situation. Kakashi had finally cornered Naruto when Sasuke swung by, literally, grabbing Naruto by the back of his jacket and swinging up into the trees, leaving Kakashi howling his wrath to the heavens. Well, that's it then, Fox said as he leaned back in his chair from the edge of his seat. Kakashi will have to pass them. If the Uchiha joins in, the girl will undoubtedly follow. All three working together means they pass the bell test. Normally, the prospective team is supposed to work together to defeat their new sensei in this test. Well, that was never going to happen, no way, no how. Now they're all working together to survive, which is closer to reality. I suppose you're right, Hiruzen said, lighting up his pipe and taking a few puffs. Fox took a long pull from a bottle of sake, one hand behind his head and stretching his legs, enjoying the burning sensation as it went down his throat. Most people would say it was far too early for alcohol, but his responsibilities required him to work the night shift. He hadn't slept in 36 hours and was going straight to bed when he got home, so this was more of a nightcap. Don't you know, Lord Hokage, I'm always right, Fox smugly declared. For a brief moment, the area was deafeningly quiet before Hiruzen broke it. How did you kill Ivan, Fox? The fox snorted. It's been bothering you a lot, hasn't it? Fox chuckled as he observed his superior's expression. Alright, I'll tell you how you got your food inside that fortress. Yes, we had one large supply drop that we brought inside and thoroughly tested for poison, but Ivan insisted on including certain luxury items. As I recall, we discovered that you had poisoned a bottle of particularly fine sake that Ivan would have taken for himself. Not only that, but you attempted to exploit his peanut allergy by replacing one of the bottles of cooking oil with peanut oil. Finally, and this one I thought particularly clever, you laced his pee. Although the whiskers themselves are not poisonous, they do not dissolve in the stomach and are sharp. They pierce the stomach wall and cause cysts when eaten. Peritonitis develops when these cysts become inflamed. Without the assistance of a surgeon, it would have been a slow and painful death. I knew you'd catch the first two, but I wasn't sure about the third, which was also intended as a distraction. Oh? Yeah, I knew you'd be suspicious if I didn't try anything with the food, so I had to do something, and if it worked, well, I wouldn't be complaining, Fox said after a brief pause. Actually, I'd be complaining. That would be far too easy. How did you get him? Arsenic. Would match the symptoms, yes, but so would a slew of other disorders, and with chakra it's fairly easy to check for, and there was no arsenic in any of his food, nor on his clothes, and we even checked the pages of his books to make sure he wasn't getting a contact poison. The Hokage exclaimed, clearly frustrated. Fox smiled quietly, taking full advantage of the situation. As you know, arsenic is a contact poison if applied to an area of the body where blood flows close to the skin. In that supply drop was a box containing 3 items that Ivan thought absolutely essential to maintaining his calm: a box of tissues, a volume of Icha Paradise, and a large tub of Vaseline. As his eye began to twitch, the Hokage realized what was going on. You don't mean... He started, unsure whether to laugh or cringe. Yes, Fox confirmed, sounding pleased. Ivan the Butcher was literally slain by his own right hand.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.